This is going to be a video on how to remove the air conditioning compressor. To get it to this stage here, you'll need to remove the intake manifold, the center portion, and the left hand side. The right hand side, even though it's out here at the moment, can stay in, but you'll need to remove the center on the left. You'll need to remove the air oil separator and the CCTV pipe that runs all the way along the front. You'll have to take that out of the way. You'll need to loosen the belt off the pulley of the air conditioner. And for videos on how to do that, just have a look in the description. There'll be a video on how to remove the intake manifold, how to remove the air oil separator and the hose, as well as how to remove the dry belt. You don't need to remove the dry belt, you just need to loosen the tensioner and take the belt off the pulley. And then once you get to that stage, then you can get pretty easy access to the compressor. First thing I would do is on this side over here, there is a clamp that would be attached to the side of the intake manifold. You can disconnect that single screw. And then this one here, what we want to do is loosen off these hoses here, the air conditioning compressor pipes, because I'm going to move them quite a bit in a moment. And the way I disconnect that, there's a little single hex, I think it's a 6mm. You just get inside and remove that. And then once that comes out, you can get a little baby screwdriver in there, open up that, and that will open up. And then it actually doesn't pull off, that's screwed into that, but that bit there can pull off, and then the hoses can get pulled out of that. And then that will loosen everything up much more over this side. As part of removing the CCV hose, we would have disconnected the electrical connections here, the battery connection to the generator and to the starter motor. So just move those off to the side, and what we can do first is electrical connector just here for the compressor. That's just one of those ones that you just pull up like that, and that just pops off really, really nicely. And then we're going to remove this clip here which holds onto everything. So what we want to do to remove this clip here is remove the two screws at the front here. They just come straight out. Now all of these screws, well these ones here, sorry, they take 23 Newton meters from the book, and the screws that hold in the pipes themselves take 22 Newton meters. If you put 23 or 22 on both of them, or on all, I don't think it's make too much of a difference. But once those screws are out, you can see, I'm sure if you can notice, but that there is the low pressure fuel pipe. We can just move that and just rotate that around to get that out of the way. This clip now comes free, but it's still holding onto that electrical connection. You can just wiggle that off, so that just comes out. And now there's the electrical connection that goes to the back of the compressor. And now with those two out, we can remove this third screw at the back here. It's a really long one that goes all the way through. And now this thing is quite loose and just can pull straight up. It's sitting on a couple of dowels at the front here, but it can lift straight up quite happily. And now what we need to do is lift this up probably about an inch or so, and we'll get access to the screws, which look like that. They're T45 that hold the connections onto the compressor itself. A couple of things you want to do is just have a rag handy here, because what we're going to do is move those pipes over the top of this so we can move it out of the way. And you want a rag here so it just doesn't leak compressor oil everywhere. And also what I want is something to support underneath. So when I lift this up, I want to put a rag underneath here, because when I initially disconnect this, a whole bunch of oil is going to come out, and I need it to sit there rather than flop back down, so I can remove the pipes. And it's really going to leak a whole bunch out of this pipe here into this sort of little tray there. And then once it's like that, we've got access to the two screws. There's going to be one there and one there. And then you can just gently wiggle those off. Now, obviously no oil has come out of there, but when I first did that, a whole bunch of oil came out, and then I can just bring that over the top over here and just rest that there. And it's the same with the other one. Now, moving these out, It's really important that you keep the correct orientation of the compressor. If you start to twist it, it's going to bind up the connection there. They come out quite easily when the angle is correct. There we go. Now the compressor can just come straight out. With these connections, the moment I remove these, I'm going to wrap these in cling film, put a cable tie around them, and make sure that they don't get any contaminants in there, because it's really important that everything stays clean. And I'm going to replace those O-rings prior to install. For install, it's obviously the reverse of that. Things that are important when you are installing, so like I said, we're going to replace those O-rings. Make sure that they are lubricated with the correct compressor oil, because when they go in, they need to just slide in really nicely and not bind up and get deformed, because if they do that, you'll get leaks and things won't work. And like when we removed it, it's really important to keep the orientation of the compressor correct, otherwise it's difficult to get these lines in. I'm going to leave my rag in there, maybe support it a little bit more over the other side, so it's relatively, hopefully relatively flat and sits there okay, so I can get those lines in. I'd obviously torque those correctly, but just for demonstration, I won't bother. And once it's sitting on those dials, everything is the opposite of that. So we will connect the electrical connector, make sure that the clamp over the top that holds onto the electrical connector and the low pressure fuel pipe is connected correctly. And then torque all that down and then replace everything as required.